I apparently got so bored that I fused two completely unrelated dishes into one. I've made Japanese curry a few times, including on the channel before. It's a classic, it's easy, it's comforting, you can't beat it. And then there's this Hungarian dish called paprikash, which I've never tried before. It's basically just stewed chicken cooked in a lot of paprika and bell pepper, which is what Hungary is known for. They're both stewy kind of dishes, which is why I wanted to put them together to see if they work. You can wait till the end to find that out, but here's how I made it. I'm going to start by prepping all of my aromatics and veggies, which there's not a lot of. I've got one medium-sized yellow onion and about 6 cloves of garlic, or 3 of these massive dudes, 1 red bell pepper, 3 carrots, and then 1 red apple, which I use in my curry. I'm just getting a rough dice on everything. I'm kind of cutting the onion and bell pepper a little smaller just so they kind of melt into the sauce. The carrots will be chunked a little larger because I want them to be noticeable in the final dish so you can bite into them. The apple is going to get peeled and grated later, right before I add it in because I don't want it to oxidize too much. Then I've got 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs, which I'm going to roughly cube up. I think paprikash typically uses bone-in chicken to add flavor, and then Japanese curry often uses beef. So I'm following neither of those with this dish, but there's no rules because I've already broken all of them. Once I'm ready to cook, I have my cast iron Dutch oven over medium-high heat, and I'm adding a few tablespoons of ghee or clarified butter. Once that's shimmering, I'm going to add in my chicken cubes in 2 batches. I'm just trying to sear these to get some flavor onto them and also into the base of the dish. Just come around and stir for a few minutes, trying to get color on all sides. Also make sure the bottom isn't burning and everything is evenly cooking. You don't need immensely dark color, but any amount of browning is going to add flavor. At some point, I also added a pinch of salt to these to season them, of course. Once the first batch was done, I repeated with the second batch, and that fond on the bottom started getting close to burning. Just try to scrape that up as much as I can to make sure it doesn't stick too hard and burn. At that moment, I can dump in my onion and bell pepper and start to soften those. Just stir those around to release their water so you can lift that fond off the bottom of the pan. You can even add splashes of water to help really lift that off to make sure nothing is stuck at this point. Just don't add too much, it should evaporate within a few minutes. After about 5 minutes of sauteing, I'm going to add in my carrots to do the same with those. They're not going to really soften until you cook them in the liquid, but we're just giving them a little head start. After about 3 to 4 more minutes, I'm going to add in my garlic and get that fragrant for about a minute. Then comes the paprikash part of this dish, so I'm going to add a few tablespoons of sweet paprika. You can buy some really fancy Hungarian stuff online, but I just bought this at the supermarket. I think it's going to be okay. I also supplemented with like a tablespoon of smoked paprika. I don't think that's traditional, but I wanted the flavor in here. We're going to briefly toast those for just about 30 seconds to bloom their flavor, and then I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. That just needs to toast for no more than about a minute. The bottom can get dangerously close to burning at this point, so just be really careful. Before that happens, we're going to start to deglaze, and I'm starting with a cup of chicken broth. First, I'm just scraping off the bottom with a little bit of liquid so I can make sure that everything is clean. Then I can add the rest of the liquid, and I'm supplementing with 2 cups of water. The curry cubes are going to add a lot of their own flavor, so I don't want to add all stock here just because it'll be over flavored. As that's coming to a boil, I can grab that red apple I was talking about and peel it and then grate it on a cheese grater. That's just going to add some lovely natural sweetness to this dish. And once that's boiling, I can add back in my chicken along with its accumulated juices. That's just going to boil together until it reduces a bit and the chicken is cooked through and the carrots are tender. Mine took about 15 minutes to get it where I wanted it to be. Just test those carrots and see where you are. Now I can add the curry element of this dish, which is a box of these Japanese curry cubes. I use the Golden Curry brand, and I use the extra hot flavor because it's not really spicy. They do have mild if you want it though. Just separate those in and they'll melt into the sauce and thicken it and also darken it. Just go ahead and season to taste with salt. The sauce should be pretty thick, not too runny like a soup. It should be just enough to make it stew-like. To thicken it even more, I'm going to add in a half cup of sour cream, which is typical in paprikash. Heavy cream or coconut cream is typical in a lot of curries, so this should be adjacent to that. Mix that all together and give it one final taste for seasoning. You can add salt, but also some other things like honey to make it sweeter. I'm finishing up with some chopped Italian parsley, and that's it. By the way, I'm serving this over noodles, which is typical for paprikash. You could easily do this over rice as well. I just boiled some wide egg noodles in salted boiling water until they were al dente. And once I drained them, I took one extra step and put them back into the pot with a few tablespoons of butter. One that just helps them not to stick, but it's just going to add a beautiful flavor to them. So to plate up, I filled half the dish with the egg noodles and then added the papricurry to the other side. One final sprinkling of parsley and you're done. This gives off beautiful curry aromas, which is always appealing to me, but it's also very paprika forward because we added so much of it. I'm really interested to see how these two things play together. Let's get to the taste test. I have no idea how this one's gonna turn out. I honestly don't know what I was really thinking when I came up with this. I'm really just trying to clean out my freezer, and I had these curry cubes that I wanted to use that I bought a while ago. And I just wanted to find some other stew-like recipe to combine it with. I've never had paprikash. Let's hope this one's a winner. Cheers. I don't know what to say other than it works. I mean, these dishes can be made with really similar bases. You know, your normal aromatic, onion, garlic, bell pepper in this case. The paprikash, of course, adds a lot of paprika, which I think really complements the curry flavors that come from the curry cubes. And the sour cream, of course, is not used in Japanese curry, but there's a lot of heavy cream in a lot of types of curry, so I think it works here. I mean, these dishes definitely don't need each other, but it does not hurt to combine them. Would I make this again? I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I would probably just make regular Japanese curry if I wanted it. And I still want to make some paprikash the more traditional way on its own anyway. But it does also show that curry goes well with noodles too. Also, the curry cubes say extra hot, and I don't think it's super spicy compared to like a Thai curry. That's probably the flavor I'm gonna get every time though, because it's really good. But a weird video, if you watch this, I appreciate it. That's gonna do it for me today. Thank you all for watching. Be blessed, and I'll see you next time. What? I just received a lifetime ban from Budapest?